Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Bowles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Oh, my goodness. Got a little sleet and freezing rain and a little snow rolling through here this morning. It's only supposed to last a couple hours, and actually our exposure time is even less than that. My buddies at DAM told me that the cool thing, they won't tell us to treat or not treat. Which I get that. That's not their job to decide that. But we do have a very short-term exposure. Looks like a little bit of we're I don't know what our temperature is out there right now. Let's see. We're at 30 right now, so we're still a little below freezing. And we're supposed to be at 32 by 10:30, 34 by 11. And so, we made the decision based on what we got going on, and it's a short-term exposure for the precipitation too, that we're just with the residual that we've got out, we're just not going to go out and treat everything. So we just always try to make the best management decision we can make, and I think that's in our best interest. It's in our customers' best interest. It's in everybody's best interest. I always say, you can't put a price on safety, but the reality of it is, if we didn't have any material down, we'd be out there putting material down. But with the temperatures where they're at, with the amount of precipitation volume wise, we're going to have the temperature going above freezing here within an hour. I think we're just that's where experience pays off. It's you got to do what's right, and most of the time we guess right, and sometimes we guess wrong. But I think we'd rather look like a hero than a zero, and sometimes we do make the wrong call. But I don't know. I feel pretty good with this one. Got a couple of us here that, hey, if we need to go do something, we can go do something. I actually did go out and do one job this morning early. They had some refreeze issues, and was really weird. The refreeze issue was yesterday, and they called us and said they had somebody fall getting out of their car. Didn't hurt them, but and it was weird. It was. I'm trying to think of. It's like it was on the downhill side, so it wasn't like something melted, rode down, refroze, and that's what they fell on. This was at the lowest point of the parking lot that had some melt that refroze, and it was like a foot off of the pile of snow or so. I mean, I didn't measure it, but that was my best guess looking at it when I went out there and took my video. And I'm really trying to figure out how they even came in contact with it. If they pulled into the parking spot, I don't see how they would have came in contact with it because of the length of their car. By the time they did the bumper, the hood, got back to the front door, wouldn't have been even in the zone of that. So I'm not saying they didn't, but I guess we'll find out. We'll find out if how that turns out. So, but anyways, we decided to go out there, and they called us, and that brings me to a point of something that I want to talk about a little bit is, and we'll get into that in a minute. But verbiage in your contract, have you this year? And this is really cool. We're going to have a when I say the industry is going to have a lot of changes come along. I'm sure with snow and ice contractors across the country after this year, because last year, a lot of markets had some decent snow. This year, we're having some decent snow again, and that's when you find out what you got good and what you don't have good in your contracts as far as verbiage on, who's responsible for the freeze and refreeze. I mean, we've got it addressed in our contract, and that responsibility goes back to our client to call us, because unless they specifically tell us and get it in writing that, hey, we want you to come by, you know, in the morning or afternoon or whatever frequency they want, then we put that responsibility. Our contract puts that responsibility onto them to call us for any refreeze issues that they may be having. So that's just something I think a lot of guys are going to look at. They're going to look at seasonal structure on pricing, maximums on seasonal pricing. Just a lot of different things. So, and matter of fact, we got a seminar coming up February 25th, where we're actually going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how does seasons like this change an existing snow contractor's mindset, because 1994 set us on the path of rebuilding. Is that the right word, Daniel? Rebuilding, revamping, restructuring. That's when we restructured how we did snow 100%. I mean, we had a lot of snow in a very short period of time. You guys have heard me tell that story, and a lot of complaining going on to our customers, right? But so we revamped how we do snow completely, and have made changes to it since, verbiage wise, on material. I mean, material costs have shot through the roof for most of us that are lucky enough to get it, that have a good enough relationship with somebody, that been buying from them long enough. And yeah, we're paying more, they're paying more. And it's funny to look at these guys on social media, crying about it. And I mean, no, nobody likes it. I mean, none of us like to pay more than what we got to pay for anything. But on the other hand, you don't get on social media and slam a distributor and saying, damn, they want my first son for, a ton of material. Well, you know, when you're going to play the game, man, the rules change sometimes. And if you didn't pre-order, that's problem number one. If you didn't prepay, that could be problem number two. And it's simple economics, supply and demand. I mean, they can't get it, so what they do get, they're paying more for, and which means you're going to pay more for it. The solution, I mean, hell, the easy solution is next August when you do your early order program, get you enough to get you through 2 or 3 seasons. Get more than what you think you're going to need. That's going to be your answer. And I mean, I know storage is something that affects all of us, right? I mean, whether you're a one truck operation, I remember when I used to put drums of Safe Step ice melter in my damn shed at house. I thought it was a lot when I had 500 pounds. God, I remember me and Cork, man, we had, Daniel, they were 100-pound drums. And that was the dumbest shit ever. But yeah, at the time it was cool, but you had 100-pound drums. And then finally, after we lifted a few of those doing some jobs, we finally went to the 50-pound bags. It's like, damn, these drums are heavy, because it was like looked like a big garbage can, kind of, not a big garbage can, but a drum about that tall, about, nobody can see it, but about 3 feet tall, and, about like that. And, but we certainly got off those 100-pound drums pretty quickly and got onto the bags. And, but my point is, you just got to keep as much as you can keep on hand. And even if you got to pay a distributor or a dealer, hey man, I'm going to buy that. I just don't have space for it. Charge me to store it. And as I use some, I'll come get some. Hell, I've done that over the years. I paid a guy down the street from us. We kept bag material down there before we went to bulk material predominantly. He had, I don't know how many pallets, 30 pallets of material down there or something. And I paid him to store it for us, So a lot of the crime that's going on right now is because of your own ability to want to make the investment in what you got to do to either keep ice melter, make sure you got it, or whatever you're trying to do to make it easy on yourself. And easy means not investing what you got to invest in it. And I can hear some of you guys out there thinking, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say now. Wait, no, I'm going to tell you, I had ice melter when I was not taking a check for myself on Friday afternoons, during the winter. But I had ice melters because I knew that I had to have that in order to make some money, in order to get some income. So we had some money for our family.
Yeah. Well, there's
I
also,
mean,
you have to remember, like, it- there's levels to business, and if you can't take on as a business a certain level of client, a certain amount of material that's going to take, whether, that means salt in the winter, or you don't have enough mowers to do this property, or you don't, like, that doesn't make everyone else the bad guy. That just means you either need to, like you said, actually invest in your business, which is what every other industry does. It's not something that they want to have to do, is spend money for something that is growth related, but they do it because they want to grow.
yeah,
Like, you have to eventually
you got to do
take a
it.
leap. That's what it is. That's what an investment is. Unless you, like, it's not an investment to go, "Oh, I have I found this, this area that I have an abundance of, resources, and I have, area that I can put this material, and I've just happened to find these mowers, they all work perfect." Like, that's not business.
You got to decide what's important. I mean,
You also have to decide, I am in business, and
yeah,
this is what being in business is. If you want to be a business that is at a certain point and does certain jobs and takes on certain work, like, and get certain pricing because you have the room to store material, like, then you have to invest in having the room to store it. You have to invest in, if you want to do the biggest lawn mowing job in the city, you have to invest in the mowers to do that job. And all those things are leaps of faith. They're investments. They're risks. But it seems like, and it makes sense, right? Like, you don't want to take unnecessary risk. You don't want to take and say,
yeah,
oh, well, give me, go to the bank and try to get a loan for X amount of thousands of dollars when you don't have a plan in place, you don't have an idea, and you don't, like, there's still smart ways to take that risk. But if you filled up all the space at your garage at your house, it's not anyone else's fault that you chose to be in this business that you don't have room anymore.
right.
Go get more room.
Yeah, and like I said, my solution to that was pay people to keep shit for me.
Yeah.
Pay the distributor, pay the dealer. Hey man, what do you charge me to? I'll take it, I'll pay for it. And get your terms on it. But then you got to pay for it, and you got to do what you said you're going to do. And I think that's what's so wrong with our industry. And I am so against government regulation, but I do think somehow we need to regulate our industry better. It's too
Well, I
easy
think
to get
most of it,
into.
like, it's such like a Wild West industry that it's a lot of self-regulation,
Yeah.
where it's like you mess up for long enough and you have to get out, or you end up, being forced out.
Or you get
That's what
jacked
the
up.
regulation
Yeah.
is. It's not so much, hey, you need a degree, or you need a, I mean, for some things you need like a license, right, for like spraying and stuff. But there's such little barrier to entry, or like qualifications necessary to enter, that the regulation is more so, how long can I do it until I can't do it? You know.
Yeah. And if you're doing, and I remember when I was like working at my other job, Sullivan, and doing this at night, that's a different perspective. You know, that's a completely different thing, you know. But if you're doing this as a full time job, then you need to, like you said, Daniel, be willing. Hell, I remember you've heard me tell this story, and it's a damn true story. I remember when I wanted my first self propelled lawnmower, a 36-inch lawnmower. I went to the bank to borrow the money because me and Jane didn't have the money. So I had to borrow the money to get the lawnmower. And the bank made me or wanted me to put my house as collateral on that lawnmower. I mean,
It's pretty crazy.
now at the time, I mean that was only a $30,000 home too. I mean, I'm sharing my age now a little bit, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
all perspective. That was a $30,000 3-bedroom ranch home,
But what was the cost of the mower?
like 3,200
Okay.
or something, or 2,800 or something. It's around $3,000. But they wanted me to give my house as collateral. You know,
Would that be kind of equivalent? How much could you get a mower for today that would be
they're
not,
12 or 15.
yeah, so 15. So I
You
mean,
know,
in a sense that's a pretty, it's 10%,
yeah.
right?
So now you buy a house for 150, and
But I'm saying like it's probably a little bit, that was probably higher than it is today, right? Like what we're closer, probably average house being closer to the 200,000 range if you're buying one today, right?
probably
Like
out of
200,
yeah.
250, like depends on size and area and all the, geography and all that kind of stuff.
But
But I'm saying like if you, I don't know from a bank perspective if that's like how much that plays in. I'm not saying it makes it right to like
I mean, I
make
know why
someone an
they
extra
wanted it from
house, but
us
like,
because
yeah,
we didn't have shit.
yeah,
I mean, we
that's all you had.
we had Kyle and I don't even know if Katie might have been born, but we had Kyle and Katie and a house, and mom had a little job. I had a little job, and that's what we had. And
Right.
I understand why they wanted the house. I mean, hell, if I didn't buy the pay for the lawnmower, what were they going to get other than they don't want like the guy told me, he says, man, we don't want the lawnmower. And which that makes now I understand that. I didn't understand that at 25. You know, we don't want your lawnmower. We want something that's of value.
Yeah.
We don't want your truck. We don't want your car. You know,
Yeah.
we want something that we can get paid on. And to this day, I've got, I how do I want to say this? I respect the banking industry or the credit union industry and all that shit. But when it boils down to it, they don't care. And
Yeah.
and I get that because if I had that big pot of money and I was letting people use it, that's what it is when you go borrow money, right? They're letting us use their
Yeah.
money
Well, letting
or
us
their
use
or their
other,
people's
yeah.
money.
Which
You
if you're
know,
at the bank, you're using part of your own money.
you're part of using part of your own money. But I mean, I'd want to feel comfortable that I was going to get it back too. So I mean, I'm not mad at them. I used to be mad at them because it'd be like shit. My dad had to sign off on loans for me till I was 40, I think, or something. You know, I
And that
he was
that go
co-signing loans till I was 40, I think.
and that kind of goes back to, there's a difference, obviously, like I said, between like a good risk and bad risk. But like you were willing to take a leap of faith or a risk in areas that allowed you to then be in the position that you wanted to be in, not in the moment,
Right.
but building on that.
So, anyways, how do we get down this road? Salt shortage just took us down this way on the investment you got to make. And don't cry about the price. Just be happy you can get it. Because if you got, if the verbiage in your contract's right, then hey, you can bump your pricing if you need to. If it's not, you can't. If you're locked in on a seasonal, maybe you can't. But I mean,
You know what the irony
that's
of
why I
it is
said you
too?
learn. These kind of winters are educational.
The irony of it is people
Well,
think,
Chad's got something he's thinking about over there. These guys that these national firms are big firms, and then they sub it, and
yeah,
then yeah, the, to do the work for them. And then you see guys that, complaining about that. Just the other day I was reading a guy put up there. He says, "Man, I'm having trouble getting paid from I can't Ferrandino and Son or whoever it was." You know, well, dude, why'd you go to work for them? I mean, how hard is it to go out as a one truck operation? Because I can tell you that's the way we did it. To go out and sell 6, 7, 8, 10 jobs to keep you busy.
yeah.
It ain't
Well,
hard.
and also,
It's just easier to have somebody else say, "Hey, go look at this address, give me a price." Then you don't have to price it, you don't have to bill it, you don't have to collect it. You're just hoping that guy pays you.
but also, I
You
think
know?
for that individual who made that post and for people like that, don't go back next year and do the same thing.
Yeah, and a
That
lot of them do.
and that's a learning opportunity. I get, you think, oh, this could be a good opportunity. You try it out, it doesn't work. You go on social media and air out your frustration. But then next year, or, within the next couple of 6, 7 months or
Yeah,
whatever,
come here. We're gonna get Chad on there with us.
start
He's got
doing
some
the
good
due
but what
diligence that it takes in order to do it the way that you want to do it. Like that's the biggest thing that doesn't make sense is people will say, "Oh, well, they screwed me," but then go back right back to doing the same thing.
no, that's exactly right,
And
man.
it might not be the same company they're working with, but it'll be a different one that does the same thing next time.
There you go, Chad. We're gonna get Chad in.
And what also I think
Chad
is
worked
ironic,
with us here, and he does quite a bit of side work, landscaping work. So he's got a couple different perspectives. He's got working with somebody perspective, and he's got a working on his own perspective. And we'll get him. Let's see. All right, you good?
Yeah.
Let's see. Dun, dun, 3. All right, and get that a little bit closer up there. Let
Can you
me.
hear me?
Yeah, you're good there.
Cool.
All right. So, I mean, Chad had a son that went out and worked for one of these guys that what was he running, a skid steer or a dingo or
one of the skid steer guys called and they needed some help on the sidewalks because the shoveling crew couldn't shovel the sidewalks. So I got a mini and I told him what my hour was going to be for my son to come out. And the guy was like, well, that's what the skid steer guys get. And I was like, well, that's what my mini is. So that's what you're going to pay. Or if not, my guy's not going to come out. So I sent my son out there. We agreed on the price and my son went out there and started doing the sidewalks and the contract holder come over to my son and told him he was making more of a mess than what he was doing progress for. And I just kind of laughed about it. I told my son, I said, well, tell him to cut you a check or give you some cash and you'll leave.
yeah.
My son got home and I told him, I said, son, that guy's going to realize you was making effort more than those guys was.
Yeah.
And sure enough,
And he can use the machine is the thing. I want y'all to understand that he can use the machine he was on.
48 hours later, that same guy called my son back and asked him to come back out there. And of course, we was out doing sidewalks and driveways of our own, and it just wasn't going to justify sending him back out there. And why would you going to go back out and work for a guy that was griping about your service for?
Yeah, no,
And that's the same guy that has a contract that doesn't have a plow truck at all. He relies on all of us that are already booked for the season
to come help him out.
And then he's crying, oh, I can't get a service. You guys are junk. No, it's not. We're junk. We're booked.
Yeah. Yeah. And then mad at you. And now he's on Facebook saying, I can't get nobody to come out and help.
Yeah.
We got to think of, and like I said, you got to have years like this, though, to make that make sense. It's kind of like having a hot summer. If you have a hot, dry summer, guys that are mowing grass without any, I'm trying to think of the right way of saying it. I don't want to say without any sense. When you don't know what you don't.
System. You don't
have a system in place. I didn't know what I didn't know about it. And then, damn, here I am. I went to work and I was working for myself and all of a sudden it got hot and dry and now I didn't have any income coming in but now what I had was a wife and 2 kids and I'm like, shit, man, I got to change something. We got to do something other than just cut grass.
Yeah.
And so it takes weird events in your life, in your business life too, right? To Daniel's point, when you decide that you're going into a business, there's two ways. There's the part-time way, which is a completely different business model,
Or you're all in.
or you go all in. And there's nothing wrong with both ways.
All in is those Fridays without pay.
Yeah.
Those long days that you don't know when the end's going to be.
Yeah, because now you've done the work and now you ain't got paid. Now you got to go collect the money. And, now you run into that whole scenario potentially, And when you transition from, and I'm just talking about myself right now, when you transition from going from doing it part-time to doing it full-time, when you were doing it part-time and you still had that regular check coming, and now you don't have that regular check coming, then you realize how goofed up things are.
Or you should, or you hope that you
You know, that, hey, man, we need to change this thing. I'm not letting Miss Smith tell me, hey, bust your balls and cut my yard 3 times in the spring, but in the summer, you're not going to come by and do anything,
Yeah.
but you're not going to pay me any differently.
Yeah. I think
You
it
know,
kind of goes back a little bit to like your experience with the bank, right? Like when you have additional income coming in that can fund your life on a, 95% or even 100% basis, and your part-time is just an extra, 5-10% to do what you want to do with, like what is the collateral there? What's the true downside of not knowing if it's not truly affecting you negatively? And that's where a lot of
right.
people, they don't get that. Then they start to think they're doing better than they are. Then it's like, oh, I'm going to go quit my quote real job, my day job, my whatever. And then they do get into it. And then the collateral is my home, my family, my security, my
My
income.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. No,
so
that's
then
it.
that becomes your collateral. It's you put yourself in that position to put yourself like with that collateral because you thought that that wasn't an issue because the other thing was funding it. And then you
Right.
find out it was. And then we go back to the same thing. Are you going to continue to do it the same way or are you going to make a change?
Are you going to make a change? And I really do. I think next year is going to be a year where you see a whole lot more guys doing snow. Because it happens like that, man. I've seen it happen too many times. You get a few good years in snow, then you got Daniel who's sitting out there not doing snow thinking, damn, those guys killed it. They don't realize that the salt's eating their brake lines up and now they're going to have another $3,000 bill on their truck because it's eat up from the salt. And Chad's more of a mechanic than that. I am for sure. I don't know shit, but whatever that eats up underneath there, and then it's time to fix it. That if your truck were sitting in the home and not doing snow, that's why people look at it and say, oh man, you're killing it in snow. Well, yeah, today we are.
It's killing my truck also.
Today we are, but we're increasing the expenses down the line of the maintenance that it's going to take to make that truck good for a landscape truck again here.
Which is fine if you know that.
It's okay
and
if you know it.
And you
You
price
bid it
that way.
accordingly.
But then you have people come in that say, oh, well, Wayne was doing it for you for this amount. I'll go 10% less. And all of a sudden that 10% that was covering the truck repair they're going to need later on, they don't have that covered. But they didn't know that was going to happen. They just thought, oh, I go 10% less, I get all this work.
Or all the guys that are buying a truck and plow that are going out and doing it. And yes, you might or may or may not be signing a contract with the folks, but do you have the insurance?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you hiring a guy that has insurance? Because ultimately, if he busts your curbs, if he hits one of your pumps, if he hits your building, who's going to fix it?
Yeah.
If that guy doesn't have a contract with you and he doesn't have a heart.
The last fill cap we hit was $1,500. And that's with, that was just it's what they cost. We were lucky it didn't bend the thing going down in,
Yeah.
So, shit happens, especially in any service we offer, but especially with snow. That's one of the reasons we don't take call-in work any longer either. Oh man, come do my lot, man. I'm just across the street or down the street from you. Yeah, I don't know that lot, so now I don't know where
that horse falling through the ice.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't know where the pond is.
The pond didn't know the horse didn't know where the pond was. Yeah. Oh, let's see. Scott says, I think it's people who give advice to people that are starting out. They see the nice stuff and they see the terrible stress that comes with it, but they just assume that's how it is because their buddy's giving them advice and doing the same thing. So that's just how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You
There's a lot of
want
people
to do
that
it.
that.
You got to want to do it. I saw a post, a couple guys had some trucks and stuff and they was needing some work this past week. And I'm like, dude, why is your truck even sitting for? And if you're asking for help, you shouldn't even be doing this. Because, I had a 16 and an 18-year-old with me that was going door to door that was keeping us busy day to day.
Yeah, on the sidewalk.
On the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
because y'all went out and rented a skid steer.
Yes, I had a charge I had to cover immediately.
Yeah, Chad went out and rented a skid steer, and they were doing driveways, and
Yeah.
they were keeping them busy. We
You
were
know,
shooting them some leads that we were getting on driveways.
yeah, but
But
there was a couple guys that was on Facebook and on some of these social media sites that was needing work, that has a truck and a plow that was needing work, that was wanting to go to work. It's like, guy, if you got enough sense to go get that truck and a plow, and if you have any idea of what you're doing, start knocking.
yeah,
Start knocking, buddy.
that's yeah, that because when you get a snow like that, that's all you. We always say, man, if you didn't have any work at all, and you knew you had a snow like that coming, it'd be you could set a route.
Yes.
You could pick 8 or 10 of those people that's and hey man, I'll come do it, but I want you to sign a service contract with me moving forward. Then you'd have your route. Hell, you wouldn't have, it goes back to what you're saying. Knock the door a little bit. Yeah, get it done up front. But if you need to fill a route, you could easily fill a route. And for somebody that says, no, I just want somebody when we got more than 4 inches of snow, then put your name out there on Facebook land or something.
Yeah.
Because too much problems come along with pushing, snow 4, 5, 6 or more inches on lots you don't know. Hell, it's hard enough on lots you know.
Right.
You know.
And you've said it before and told me before and a long time ago, there's too much work out there to be fighting over just one job.
Yeah,
It's out there.
There's
Guys,
plenty of work out there.
it's out there, guys. Go get it.
I don't know how many leads we had come through. I mean, Katie saw most of them, but I mean, just all over the place. There's plenty of work out there. But anyways, hey, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more profit time. We'll get off the snow kick for just a second. I want to talk about ghosting people.
Ghost.
Gosh.
I mean, I just hate that. I mean, I just don't. I mean, and curious, any of you guys listening, what's your opinion on it? 502-550-8307. It's 502-550-8307 if you'd like to give your opinion on ghosting. I don't know why people do it, number one. We talked about it, and Katie had some good ideas on it. But
Shame. Maybe you're ashamed of maybe your service that you provided or something.
well, I mean, what about if you don't even give the service yet? You're trying to reach out to somebody, and then they don't. They call you, you call them, and they act like they didn't even hear from you.
Yeah, but in some cases you can already tell by the person's attitude of how you're going to go about the job, and it's going to be a rough one.
Yeah. I mean, Katie had a good point that sometimes, you look at it and you think you responded, but you didn't. That's giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. Okay. But I think more times than not, it's a little bit different than that. I think it's somebody just says, oh God, it's them. Daniel made that point. It really, sometimes it gets to, have the courtesy to answer them back. I mean, what's the worst it's going to be, man? It's going to take you 2 seconds to tell somebody. And, especially if somebody reaches out to you, then you reach back to them and then, you act like it never happened. I mean, I just don't get it. Katie texted her. She was telling me, and this is probably the worst case scenario I've ever heard. She said she texted a friend of hers named Becky. A year later, she got a text back, right, Katie? Was it a year later? She got a text back with an answer. I mean, come on. How do you find something a year later? Sorry,
yeah,
Ona said, what was it?
Been busy.
Sorry, I was busy.
Could have been on a submarine.
Well, yeah, maybe be like Chad's daughter in a submarine. That might be. That's true. That might be the only legitimate answer, really. But yeah, but I mean,
I think a lot of it comes down to the subject matter. You could say maybe some of it as a business owner in the early parts of the year, from like if you're looking at it from the consumer's perspective, oh, why did they ghost me? Maybe sometimes stuff slips through the cracks. There's probably that does go on. But I think a lot of times, especially on a personal level, when you know the person that you're talking about or to or whatever, it's like, I don't want to talk to them about this. It's uncomfortable, or it's not a good conversation, it's not going to lead anywhere good, or it's not going, like they're going to get angry, I'm going to get angry, or it's not going to go anywhere productive, or I think a lot of it has to do with that because I kind of gave the example of like if this is extreme, but like if Hitler texted you and they were like, and he was just like, "Hey, what's up?" You probably wouldn't get back to him, right? But if he was like, "Hey, I have $1 billion," you'd be like, "Oh, let me respond real quick and see what this is about."
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Like
no,
it's
no,
not always the
that's
person. I think a lot of it, maybe sometimes it is the person, like that you just simply do not like them or don't want to talk to them. But a lot of times it's more so the subject matter. Like I don't, this isn't good, or like if it's a problem. Oh, I don't want to have to deal with that
now
problem.
somebody in like your age bracket, Daniel and Chad's, do do you all think like me, I don't like texting. I do it a little bit with work, but other than that, I'd rather have a phone conversation with somebody. But you all don't. I mean, a younger age group would rather text.
Yeah.
I'm to the point. I don't want to talk about cats and dogs and the sun coming up. Yeah.
Not just pointless, yeah. Like having a conversation over text.
It's back to business. We're talking about business. Let's, hey, good morning. Good morning back to you.
Yeah.
Let's get to what we're doing.
Yeah.
But back to ghosting. So
But
like
yeah,
let's go back to so last week was a good one, guys. Like so if you're busy, I was busy even after Wayne's. We was doing driveways. I know I missed a few calls, and I'm sure there was a few people that got ghosted on my end because I was just so busy. I was in a skid steer from sun up to sundown, pretty much.
yeah.
My guys was going driveway to driveway and clearing the edges, and I was doing the mains. My phone was ringing off the hook. I had another guy that was kind of taking calls for me. So say springtime, you're a one truck operation, you're gonna miss calls.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna ghost a few people because you're so busy, you can't answer all them calls. So,
That is true because something, Chad. I've talked about it before here on that. As a smaller company, man, I remember that. God, there was nothing worse than coming back in at the end of the day and you got 20 phone
it'll
calls.
be 3 hours talking to people.
And then so what I finally started doing, I didn't even worry. I ghosted them, I guess.
There you go.
I didn't even worry about the guy that called me at 8 in the morning. I would start with the guy that called me at 4:30. The close, you know what I'm saying? That the guy that called me closer to last,
Yeah.
because
The guy
the guy called me at 8. He's called 100 people already.
He's already found somebody.
He's found somebody. Then I would just start at the top of the list and go backwards until is what I did as a smaller company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the great thing nowadays is like if you have even a very small CRM, something like that can like automate some of those things for you. That can take a lot of the ghosting away, at least where somebody gets a response from you. It may not be exactly all the information they need or want to move forward, but like, hey, thanks for texting us or calling us or emailing us or form filling us. We'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Here's a FAQ page on our website for more information on us. Or, something as basic as that can make someone feel as a customer like at least they're being heard and you're not just out there in the ether floating in space.
Now, here's one says he had a boss that said if you get a call and you can't answer the call and they don't leave a voicemail, it's not important enough to the caller to get a call back.
I think that's okay rule of thumb.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if they don't.
Sometimes.
But what about just flagrant ghosting people? That's what.
Yeah, when you absolutely know you're just
you
avoiding
you
them.
know you're just not texting them back, or you're not calling them back, or you're not whatever. Here's another point. Said and here's something to think about to go with too. Either one of y'all would I'd rather have a call, but a text does allow to have a written record of what you said you're going to do for somebody.
And I think too, if it's something very pressing, like a call might make more sense in the moment, but then a text as a follow up to, and whenever I think of like getting a call and you miss the call and it's like, oh, I wonder what their call was about. And let's say they don't leave a voice message. Sometimes that as like, maybe it's your boss or maybe it's an employee or maybe it's a customer. Sometimes you might be trying to play that scenario out in your head, like, oh, I wonder what they're going to call about. I hope they're not, if it's a customer, I hope they're not going to call and complain and be upset and blah, blah, blah. And so maybe if you're the one feeling ghosted sometimes, maybe open that up with a text like, hey, I just wanted to touch base on you about this thing. So maybe that alleviates some of their reason for they're not getting back to you because they're thinking they're going to get chewed out or they're going to blah, blah, blah. When in reality, it's like, hey, let's just talk about this and
Does
maybe
that
say
do
something like
anything
that.
for either one of you all? Like, let's say you were trying to reach out to, I don't know, somebody do something for you. Would it make you not want to do business with them if they didn't respond back quick enough?
I had a hard time trying to get somebody to finish my drywall in my basement. Like I'd call many people and they just wouldn't reach back. Either you're busy or you just don't want to do a residential job. Maybe I didn't have enough square footage for them to do, so they didn't even reach back. I don't know. But
I know one thing to that was that we try to do here, and I think we're pretty good at it, Katie, is if somebody calls and wants something we don't do, we'll still call them back and say, hey, just want to let you know we got your call.
And even refer them to someone.
And if you got a referral, refer it out to somebody.
Here's the way I look at it from a consumer perspective. If they aren't willing to call me back when they don't have my money yet, I know they're not going to call me back after I paid them because there's no incentive to.
Yeah.
So if I can't get a hold of them before that, then no, I'm not probably going to do business with them.
For anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, that's a pretty decent perspective for real. So, if you don't call me back. And I know a lot of people don't call return calls or I guess text too. I mean, the whole ghosting thing, that was a new word I learned a while back, ghosting somebody. But, we just said you didn't call somebody back. But the reality of it is, in my opinion, and I don't know, you tell me it's different, but I just think it's just a lack of professionalism,
Yeah, it's your pride.
It is. From a business perspective, it definitely looks unprofessional. Because you're not willing to, from a business perspective, have communication. And that's like one of, like we're talking about, the biggest things of having a relationship with someone is communicating, whether it's personal or business.
Yeah. And I think you got a very valid point there, Daniel, too, that if somebody won't call you back before they have your money, then they're certainly not going to call you back afterwards. No, that's a really valid point because, you would think somebody's going to do their very best impersonation of giving a shit.
Yeah, to get your money.
To get your money. And then afterwards, not that it would be right, but
I really don't like taking money up front.
Yeah.
I had quite a few people last week, it's like, hey, here's the money. I was like, no, let me finish the job first and you come out and check it out. You say okay, and then we're good.
Yeah. Speaking of that, that's something, to touch base on too, kind of like ghosting and taking money, chasing money, customers that don't pay. You probably don't have a whole lot of problem with that though, do you? Because I didn't either. When I was going around doing my sideline, shit, you saw most people, or they had your money in a flower pot or in the.
And it goes back to touching base and talking to that person, and that person's ways. You know what that person wants. You could talk to that person and know that person's not going to do you like that. They're good people.
It's easy to tell somebody you don't know and not pay them. I think it's easier to not pay somebody you don't know than somebody that you do know.
It's harder to steal from a person than it is a business.
Yeah, because they don't perceive us, Wayne's Lawn Service. We're just Wayne's Lawn Service.
Right.
But when Wayne Voles was seeing Chad every week cutting his yard, I wasn't Wayne's Lawn Service. I was Wayne. I think that's a valid point, because you generally don't have money issues as a smaller company, collection wise. People pay you, it's there, but my real question then, I guess, is this: does it bother you, Chad, to go root up some money that somebody hadn't paid you? I hate it.
No, it doesn't bother me because it's mine.
Yeah.
They owe it to me.
I know. That's the way I feel, but I hate to make that phone call.
You know,
Even when I was like mowing by myself, you know, doing a part time, I hated to take, hey, Daniel, you owe me 3 weeks, you know, and you'd come out and talk to me like we're best friends. And, I'd be trying to figure out, okay, man, I'd really like to have some money
I
because,
think there's a lot of personality difference in regards to like this, and this gets a bad rap, but I don't think it's necessarily always a bad thing, and it definitely isn't always a bad thing. But being able to be confrontational doesn't necessarily mean you want to fight everybody, but it means you're willing to confront the situation of
yeah,
you have my money, I need my money. Like
I provided the service, so you got to provide the money.
you're almost in that sense, you're almost ghosting yourself.
yeah,
Like you're not willing to
yeah,
confront that with yourself and with them.
Yeah.
So you're kind of ghosting yourself.
ghosting yourself and just saying, well, it ain't no big deal. I'll just not worry about it. If I could have all the I'm just not going to worry about it shit that I gave away, no, really, because I did. That's the way I was. I was ghosting myself, I guess. Just like, well, damn, they know they owe it to me. You know,
Or is that person that owes you money, or are you second guessing your work? Did you do the backyard? Did you weed eat? Did you blow off? Did you do everything that you said you was going to do? Go back to you, Daniel. Are you scared to confront that person about the service that you provided?
I was. I ain't gonna lie. I was that was my drawback. I was really I hated that.
I'm not, because I want to learn from it.
You know,
If there was a problem, I want to know. Don't we?
yeah, you
We wanna learn
should.
from it.
You should. Yeah, absolutely.
If
You should.
if there was a problem, Miss Smith, I'll
Yeah,
give you a discount. Come on.
tell me what my problem was. Don't just hide from me, and give me part of it, man. My kids need shoes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
I got to pay my house payment.
Yes.
Give me part of it. God, that's a. I never will forget the lady one time I was talking to about power seed in her yard, man, and I had some shoes that were jacked up on my toe. I never will forget it. And you probably don't remember this, Daniel, but
I heard the story, but I don't think I was around.
you might not even been alive. I don't know, but I was talking to her about seed in her yard, and that she's the one that gave me the idea about getting money up front on seeding. Actually, okay, because that is a very ghosting group of people. They are like whoever here's first gets it, from a business standpoint. But but I had these shoes and I had them duct taped around the toe, and she said, I'm gonna have you do this. She says, by the way, do you need some money up front to get you some shoes?
No, I got to get seed from the yard.
Swear to God, that's a true story. And I have never ever forgotten that, but she has helped me understand that. Let's see what we got here. Uh, Fred I like Fred. He's out of Indianapolis. He says, or that area. He says, if you're a bigger operation, let somebody else deal with ARs up to a certain point. That makes them the bad guy, and you, as their point of contact, can still be the hero.
I think there's definitely value in that.
There's value in that. My dad loved calling our customers that owed us money.
He did.
That was one of his favorite
7 o'clock in
things.
the morning, he was on it.
It was his favorite thing to do. He really did, and he had Chad's attitude on it, and yours, Daniel. We did the work. It's our money, man. Let's get it.
Yes.
And I never will forget the time that we had guy's name's. I'll go ahead and say it because it's a true story. Ken Tower. He owns multiple store, or I did own. I think he sold them now, but he owned multiple tire stores around this market in Lexington and around. And this was for his personal home. We didn't cut his other ones because we couldn't get cheap enough. His commercial property, but he had us take care of his yard. And Dad caught him one time, and I'm sure he could afford it. There ain't a doubt about it. He can afford it, but sometimes maybe not, because doctors and attorneys are generally your hardest ones to get paid from. But anyway, Dad gave him a call, and I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. So this is not going to be verbatim, but it's pretty close. And he told Dad, he says, well, don't you think I can pay my bills? And Dad said, well, obviously not. And he said something smart aleck to my dad. I don't know what it was because I was over on my side and Dad was over on his side making the phone calls. And Dad, his response was, "Well, I just want to tell you something, Mr. Tari, with all due respect. I've worked for companies that buy and sell little companies like you all the time." He said, "If you can't afford to pay us," when he got "if you can't afford to pay us," he hung up on Dad. Dad said, "Watch this." And my dad was not a sarcastic person at all. For you guys listening to us, okay? Dad called him back and he says, "Mr. Tari, I believe we got disconnected." Oh my God. I laugh about that so many times telling that story. But to Fred's point, that is the nice thing because I know Katie does some of that now for us. She'll call people or reach out to them by email or text and does pretty good with that. But I still hate it. I mean, Fred, I'll just let you know, man. I still hate calling people and telling them they owe us money. But he does. That's a very valid point where if you're not the bad guy, that relationship can still be good, with the person doing the job.
Yeah.
Hey, the crew mowing the yard doesn't need to have the interaction with the client about not paying. That's
I get that all the time, and I tell them immediately that you got to call the office. That's not on me. I don't do billing. I do the work.
Yeah. So, but
let's go to those prepays.
The
people that prepay.
Yeah.
The prepay. I have a lady that gives me some, and then it's like, hey, can you do this and can you do that? Can you blow off my deck a little more? Can you do this? That's wanting more service because they prepay. They think they're
owed a little more. Yeah.
Yes.
I had a lady, I don't know if I told you this, just the other day when I was down. Okay. Oh, damn, we are about out of time. We were, thanks, Katie. I was down doing one of the locations that we do down here on Bardstown Road, and lady came out and she said, "Do you mind getting this area between their building and my house?" And I said, she said, "I'll pay you." I said, "No," I said, I didn't tell her who I was, I just said, "No, we can't do extra work when we're out. So we only take care of the contracted place." She said, "Well, this is technically their property." And she said, "The guy that used to plow this," I told Katie, she said, "The guy that used to plow this would do it for me and I just pay him a little something." I said, "Now I know you're lying." I said, "I've been plowing this place for 25 years. Ain't nobody else ever been down here."
Wow.
Right.
She immediately, I swear to God, without saying another word, she just turned around.
Her Jedi mind trick didn't work.
Didn't work. Yeah. Which, I would have maybe done something for real if I could have got in there. But it's just a real
tight spot.
You know where it's like down there. And it's you can't get in there, man. And if I could have got in there, I probably wouldn't even charge her to do it because it'd been about 2 swipes with a 10-foot plow, but I just wasn't going to wiggle around their cars and their car in the building. And it just, no, I wasn't ready for it, But she said, "Yeah, the other guy that comes down here does it sometimes for me." You lied. Now I know you lied.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But no, prepays do that for you sometimes. They think you owe them something a little extra. And, we do owe them. We owe them what they bought. That's what we owe them.
Yeah. You owe them service.
And I'm 100% on we owe them what we bought. But, God, I appreciate you hopping on, Chad. Hell, we got 20 seconds. So we need to hop off here. Appreciate y'all's input. Sorry for a real fast hot off. But we got a quick off here. Radio station knocks us off at 11. So, hey, with that being said, you guys have a great weekend. Be safe. And remember, profit is not a dirty word. We'll see you Monday.